It's a one-of-a-kind, like, DVD. And oh my god, like, how much would you buy for this? This is like a collector's. Look, it says Linklater, like, right there. You can't clearly see it because of the 7-day loan sticker, but, you know. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, hello there, Nate Jackson, Criterion Collection reviewer guy here, just slacking on my review, my intros, too. Or maybe that was pretty good, I don't know. Jeez, these tints. Anyway. Yeah, number 247, Richard Linklater, Slacker. Oh, man. I don't know how to feel about this one. I don't. I've heard weird things about it, and a lot of those things have come true in these, in said time. But yeah, man, I don't know. It's just, this is, yeah. I thought this would be a little more, no, I don't know how to describe it. 1991, 100 minutes, color, English, yeah. And, yeah, I've seen, I mean, the only other Linklater movie I've seen is School of Rock. And even then, he just directed that. He didn't write it or produce it or anything like that. And I like School of Rock. I mean, it's because Jack Black and, you know, kids and all that. It's a really funny movie. This is something entirely different. This is his baby, you know. And what a baby it is. So, yeah, so basically, let me give you the plot. There, I just gave you the plot. Why? Because there is no plot to this movie. There is a point, but there is no plot. It's, I don't know, it's basically just a bunch of people talking, and, you know, it's like Monty Python and, like, Mr. Show, the way they segue from one character to another, except it's not that funny. It's not as funny as you think it, as they do it, you know. Yeah, so I don't know where to start. You know what would help? Let me just give you the basic synopsis, or like how I remember the movie. So anyway, so the movie starts off with Richard Linklater himself playing this character who should have stayed at the bus station. Basically, he's just this guy who's on a train or this bus, and he goes and gets in a taxi, and they drive off, and he just basically gives the taxi driver this whole spiel about, like, how, like, he just gives about like, how, like, alternate realities and stuff like that, and yeah, and so he gets out, and he sees this old woman who got hit by a car, and this jogger runs by, and, like, he takes her bag and runs off and tries to go get help, but she stays, and this guy pulls up and offers to help the jogger, but he takes off, and so the jogger decides to stay along with the woman, and so then I guess the guy who hit the woman, this was his son or something, and so he pulls up and goes into his house and, like, gets a phone call about it, and he, like, does all these weird ritual things with these dolls, this dollhouse, and plays this, like, movie, and then as he waits for the cops to show up, and then just basically it just goes from one character to another, and there's this guy who thinks that, you know, who thinks that they've been on the moon since the 50s, like a lot of like conspiracy guys, and so yeah, so. And then they go, comb game player, sadistic comb game player, ultimate loser, and then, this guy who's part of the band's called the Ultimate Loser, and Stephanie from Dallas. Oh, and then the one scene that everybody talks about, the one scene that apparently was so important that they had to put it on the cover of these things, is Teresa Taylor playing the Pap smear pusher. Is this just basically this random chick who shows up and and I use the term chick lightly because I seriously thought I didn't know what Richard Linklater looked like, and I thought that was him. I thought, oh, okay, that's the star of our, you put the star of the movie on, or the main character, but of course, so it's just like, it's annoying that this really annoying, it's like, and it's not as funny as you think it was. It's basically just this chick who comes up, and she's like really just very surferish and all that, and very androgynous, and basically comes up and tries to sell them Madonna's Pap smear. She has like this thing that's labeled Siccione or Chicone, and she tries to sell it to them, and then that's it, and she just walks off, and it's just, and apparently it's the most memorable scene in the movie. And I'm like, oh Jesus Christ, this is kind of stupid. It wasn't funny. I didn't think it was very funny. I mean, there were some funny scenes, and I think one of my favorite scenes was seeing Frank Orrell from Poi Dog Pondering. He's the plays the happy-go-lucky guy who apparently will be killed by the end of the fortnight, as predicted by the sidewalk psychic. Frank Orrell goes into this diner, and he tries to get change from from Abra Moore, who's this folk musician. And anyway, he goes into this diner and orders or gets a paper or something, and he's basically, derided by the traumatized yacht owner. Is this woman who just randomly tells him, you should not traumatize women sexually. You should stop traumatizing women sexually. I should know. I'm a medical doctor. I own a yacht. And the guy behind him thinks he's paranoid. He's like, hey, quit following me. And so anyway, he leaves, and this guy in a bathrobe takes his paper, and I guess he gets hit or something. And well, the happy-go-lucky guy gets hit, and so the guy goes back to his girlfriend, and so these kids are peeping in at them, and they steal a Coke can, and what else? And then the Coke can, and then these guys try to help this guy get over his girlfriend by throwing the tent that they had sex in with over this thing, and the typewriter, and yeah, and then there's this woman who has the faith in groups or something, and then she's caught by this guy who wrote a book called Conspiracy a Go-Go, and then these two guys are working on a car, and they pick up this hitchhiker who's coming back from a funeral, and he's later interviewed by these people and about jobs, and he says he has to have a job because he hasn't found his true call. And what else happened? Well, this woman's shoplifting, and this guy tries to stop her, and and then this old guy and his daughter go back to their shop, and it's currently being robbed, and the burglar ends up going on this walk with the guy because he says, oh, we don't have anything to steal, and he ends up telling him about when he was in France or something, and he was this anarchist. And his daughter finally tells the burglar that most of it was basically false. It was all a bunch of crock, And so the burglar gets away with the accomplice and takes off. And there's this guy with these TVs on his back, and he's talking about video images. And what else? And this guy who talks about images on a video, and he shoots the camera, and this woman making sculptures on the lawn, and it's just, what else is on here? There's no chapter. I don't think there's no chapter list on here. It's basically just, I kind of followed the list just by following the cast, because we don't stay with one character for longer than a few minutes, 5 minutes at a time. I think the longest character we spend the most time with is probably the shoplifter and the old anarchist and the burglar, probably. Yeah. Scooby-Doo philosopher, Papa Smurf, question happiness, conquered fear of rejection. Yeah, they go to this diner, which is explained in the supplements, and this guy Steve with a van. And they go to this show, which I guess was supposed to be the Ultimate Losers show that was talked about earlier. So they go to this show, and they and this guy hand stamps him, and he licks his arm or something, and so yeah. So this other guy's shooting a short camera with pixels or something, and one kind of show band playing a club, Dairy Queen photographer, anti-artist. Late night pickup, yeah. And so yeah, I guess it goes into the night. And the next day, there's this old guy reporting his thoughts, and he gives this woman a tape or something. and there's this guy driving around saying that we're gonna pick up all the guns and arm yourself, and he's like in a truck, and he's labeled the postmodern Paul Revere. He's got like a megaphone, and then the movie ends with like these people like shooting a little home movie with some soundtrack over it, and at the end one of the guys throws a camera off the edge, and that's the end of the film. I mean, I don't hate this film, but I don't get the big. I mean, I guess I'm just used to plot. I think my problem is there are just too many characters. There are way too many characters in this movie. If we're gonna do a movie without a plot to it, I'd prefer that there were way less than like 100 characters in it. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. Okay, I'll just mention it. On disc 2, as a bonus feature, we have Richard Linklater's first full-length feature film, which is about 86 minutes long, and it's called "It's Impossible to Learn to Plow by Reading Books," which was done in '88, 3 years before Slacker. And I mean, that movie's way more minimalist than Slacker. I mean, Slacker's sort of minimalist in its plot, definitely very minimalist in its plot, but I think the other movie's way more minimalist in plot and point too. Most of it is just Richard Linklater doing a bunch of things, just like living in his apartment, going to the ATM, doing his laundry. He goes traveling to Austin, and he meets up with some friends, and that's the very few times when there's dialogue is when he's talking with his friends, and then he goes and has dinner with like his family or something or other friends, and then he just gets back on the train, and there's a lot of shots of like the train and him sitting just by himself and ordering food, and yeah, so it was kind of boring. It was boring, but at the same time, I kind of like at the end. I mean, and it didn't make any sense, but I mean, comparing it to Slacker, I think I liked it just a little bit more, and I might get this just for It's Impossible to Learn to Plow by Reading Books, just so I can see it again and try to like just get something out of that one, because I don't think I'll get anything out of Slacker outside of the fact that as far as its point is, I can tell that it's obviously supposed to like it shows all these young people who are basically slackers, who are basically just they don't do anything, they're just kind of just wandering around town, they wander into bookshops, they wander into cafes, they just sit around and talk, and they have all these different ideas, and they don't do anything about it, all they want to do is talk about it. And so I got the point of it, but at the same time, I just, like I said, too many characters. I just wasn't feeling it, It's one thing to have an ensemble cast, but this is really fucking ridiculous, So, yeah, it's not the worst movie I've seen, but it could have been a hell of a lot better. And I seriously thought that I was hoping that it would circle around one character, just one character who like unites all these people together, and not the pap smear person, So, yeah, that's all I can say about this. Slacker. What do we give this rating? Give it a C. It wasn't great, but I give it a C. Yeah, it's probably just not the greatest film I've seen. And only two Richard Linklater movies we have. The other being Dazed and Confused, which we won't get to till next year. I think it's 360 something or other. Although there is a chance, there's been some speculation. I don't know if you guys have seen Criterion Collection's Facebook page, but they posted a photo of Ethan Hawke and what's her name, the other chick, Julie Dempsey, who did the Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, Before Midnight series with Richard Linklater. And so now people are wondering, is that the next one in the Criterion Collection? And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised, because I've heard of these movies, and apparently they're just long shots of these two people just talking, and that sounds so fucking perfect for Criterion. So yeah, that might be the next one. So we may have 4 more movies to do, or 5 movies total. But for now, we have Slacker, and Slacker is just, I'm still not sure how to feel about it. It's interesting, but at the same time, it kind of gets old. It gets old pretty quick, especially if you go into it thinking that there's a plot. Which I had fair warning that there was no plot. It's like I knew this was going to be kind of a weird, different movie. But at the same time, just too many characters, like I said. So yeah, see, supplements on the first disc. There's different auditions for the characters. Some of the characters. Let's see. There's early film treatment. Some home movies. Them shooting, making it. There's a 10-minute trailer for a documentary about the landmark Austin Cafe Les Amis, which is featured in the movie. Still galleries, publicity photos. What else? And then that's basically disc 1. Disc 2, like I said, it's impossible to learn to plow by reading books, which is an interesting film. I think I'm glad that Criterion released it because it's kind of cool. It is kind of cool. When sometimes I don't know how to feel about when they release another movie in the set, but this one, we've had this with number 3, the Lady Vanishes, Crook's Tour, those 2 secondary characters who had their own movie, and that one wasn't bad. Same here. It's impossible to learn to plow by reading books was not the most interesting movie I'd seen, but at the same time, it was cool to see Richard Linklater, going out there and just making his own movie. It was very minimal. But at the same time, it was cool just to see him acting, or trying to act, or whatever he was doing. So yeah, like I said, I may buy it just for that secondary movie, just because it was kind of interesting. It was kind of neat. And then there's there's a short, 6-minute short called Woods Shock, which was this like rock and roll punk thing that was done. It was like this festival with all these like rock and roll artists, and Linklater and his collaborator Lee Daniel made a short film, interviewing different artists and fans and out there. And see, there's the roadmap, the working script for Slacker. It basically has just like the working script, and along with alternate scenes and deleted scenes that were cut. For instance, there's a lot more to the dialogue between Linklater and the taxi driver. In fact, the taxi driver actually talks in the unedited scene after there's a whole little bit after where he wants to go, talking about where he wants to go. After Linklater says, "I should have stayed at the bus station." The taxi driver talks about, "Where do you want to go?" Like, "Oh, I don't know. You gotta pick a destination, and all that stuff." That was all cut. And yeah, there's just a lot of other just different scenes. Let's see what else. There's the trailer, which of course, like all '90s trailers, makes it out to be more than it is by overdubbing this like really '90s synth pop music. There's a whole section about the Austin Film Society, which is just like this group of people who watch Criterion films. Or what turned out to be Criterion films. I guess back in the 80s they made there were all these like guerrilla style posters, and all the films, like a lot of the films they showed were movies that were eventually added into the Criterion collection. They really loved Salo, which is like, well, that's all I need to know about this group. They make a whole poster and a whole bunch of posters based on Salo. I'm like, fuck this, But then they were showing good movies like Diary of a Country Priest, and I'm like, okay, what's going on here, guys? There's an essay on slacker culture by Linklater, and the final bit is what is it called? End of Interview, which is a 10-minute or a 20-minute excerpt from the 10-year reunion of the cast of Slacker. Linklater and a bunch of the stars of the movie, or if you can call them stars. Just got together and talked about their experiences on the movie, and just before a live audience, and yeah, it's kind of sick to see how all these of course like most people they talk about, I get recognized, and I'm like, jeez, this is just it's weird how movies just influence you sometimes. But anyway, Slacker, C. Nah. Anyway, so that's it for me today. Tomorrow, Videodrome. I had something planned, and I don't know if it's gonna happen right now, but we may get to have we may have a special guest tomorrow. I'll leave it at that. Might have a special guest. I'm not sure right now. Timing's a little weird right now for me. We may be doing Videodrome alone, but if not, we will have a special guest reviewer sometime next year for probably Eyes Without a Face. I'm not sure when I'm going to get to that one, but when we get to that one, we'll have this person on, and it might be a little different. So yeah, but for right now, Videodrome is tomorrow by hook or by crook, and then Saturday, of course, Battle of Algiers, and yeah, that's about it. And the John Cassavetes box set is here. I'm too lazy to go get it, so I'll show you guys this weekend all 6 movies, and then that's about it. So, well, that's it. Thank you for watching. Don't slack on your plot. And don't steal Madonna's pap smears. And don't run over your mom, I guess. And if you're taking a taxi, tell the taxi driver where the hell you're going. Don't lick your arm after you've stamped somebody's thing. And don't throw typewriters over cliffs, because those things are really freaking valuable right now, like collector's items. What else did we learn from this movie? Don't steal coke. Don't steal cokes from vending machines. Stop traumatizing women sexually. Don't steal newspapers from happy-go-lucky guys. And shoot. Oh, and yeah, don't throw cameras off cliffs. That's about it. So that's it for me. Thank you for watching, and we will see you tomorrow for Videodrome. Long live the new flesh. Excited for this one. Anyway, until then, goodbye.